Okay, children. So, in this video, I would be sharing with you the last part of the chapter, and I find this part of the chapter the most interesting, and that is about the relationship between different population. We all know that any organism, it may be a plant, although it prepares its own food, but it is also dependent upon the other organism for its survival. So, we will study various types of relationship that exists between different organisms, and those categories of relationship in the environment, they fall into these parts. First of them is called uh, predation. First is predation. Second is parasitism. Third is commensalism. Fourth is competition. Then we have mutualism, and finally we have amensalism. Okay, so these are the 6 different types of relationship that exist between different organisms. So let us talk about the type of relationship which they have. Like in predation, it is useful for the predator, but it is harmful for the prey. So it is a plus and minus type of a relationship. Parasitism, it is positive for the parasite, but it is negative for the host organism. Commensalism, it is positive for one, but the other neither get benefited nor get harmed. So we'll write 0 there. So it is plus and 0. Competition is negative for both, and we'll discuss why it is called negative for both. Mutualism is again, it is where the two organisms are mutually dependent upon each other, so each one of them is benefiting the other, so it is a plus type of a relationship. Amensalism is a relation which is negative for one, but the other is neither benefited nor harmed, so it's negative and 0. So these are the 6 different types of relationship that exist. Let us talk about the first one, the predation. Predation, you know, it's a process where one organism eats the other organism, like the tiger eats the deer. So that is predation and prey relationship. Now the predatory animal have to be very strong and much better characteristics than the prey, so that it can bounce upon the prey, or it can kill the prey. So the predators, they are very they are faster, they are much stronger. Then they have very sharp claws, they have very sharp and canines, which helps in tearing the flesh. So these are the characteristics which the predator have. Now the insects or the organism which feed upon the plants, they are also called predator and prey, although that the particular term is not generally used. When we talk about predator and prey, what comes in our mind is that one animal is being eaten up by another animal. But the plants eaten up by the animal also falls in this category. So my question for you is, what are those animals called? What are those animals or organisms called which feed on plants, there's a specific term, so you need to open your NCERT book and tell me what are these organisms called. But yes, they are also included in the predator and the prey relationship. Now predators have to be very prudent, okay, they have to be very wise, very smart, as I discussed, but every time what they plan may not materialize. At times the prey can escape, so prey also develops certain characteristics by which they can escape. So what are the characteristics which the prey develop? Maybe they develop a characteristic of camouflage, and they also develop the capability of mimicry. Camouflage is where they copy their background so that they are not easily identifiable by their predators. Mimicry is where they mimic the other organisms to give an impression that it is not the one which the predator wants to eat. For example, there is a butterfly called monarch butterfly. That butterfly is very distasteful, and their predator generally avoid the monarch butterflies. So there are other butterflies also who try to copy the color and the pattern of that monarch butterfly so that they can escape. So that is what we call mimicry. Camouflage is merging with their background, and mimicry is copying some other organism. So that is what they develop. Now the organisms which are at a loss are generally the plants, because they cannot run away, because they cannot move from one place to another when they are being acted upon or by the predator. So what do? They have devised their own methods in order to prevent themselves from the predators. And what are those methods by which the plant adopt? Like they have spines. They have got certain chemicals inside them which the predator or the grazing animals find very distasteful. It can be caffeine, it can be quinone, it can be resin, it can be tannin, and so on. So they don't like this, so they leave that organism. Then there is one more plant called as the Calotropis procera, and this Calotropis procera is a plant which produces a milky fluid when the leaves or the part of this particular plant is plucked, and it consists of, that milky fluid consists of cardiac glycosides. And this cardiac is the word related to the heart. So cardiac glycosides slow down their heartbeat and they feel very uneasy, so they stop eating that particular plant. So that plant flourishes in any area because it is very much sure that nobody is going to eat it. So these are some of the characteristics of the organism which falls into the category of predation, and it involves the predator and the prey. Now come on to the parasitism. Parasite is where the organism depends upon the other organism for its living. So they have to be in contact with them. So if they are present over the surface, it is called ectoparasite, like the lice, the ticks and the mites, they are present on the surface of the organism. Or if they are present inside the organism, then it is called endoparasites, like ascaris, like filarial worm, then the bacteria and the virus which causes disease in our body. And they have got their favorite organs like liver, kidney, lungs, intestine. They live in that area. And the parasites also, they make their host weaker, vulnerable, so that they can keep on extracting food from them, but they don't let their host die, because they know that when the host will die, their life will also come to an end. So they keep the host life, but not enough stronger so that they can overcome their power. And in the same manner, just as the predators, the predators also perform a very important function in the environment, is that they can maintain the population of the prey. Otherwise their number will increase and they will eat up all the grass and will create a problem for the other organism. So predators are important because they maintain the number and they also maintain the variety of the organism. If they keep on eating only one type of organism, there will be a fierce competition between the other organisms, and they might become extinct. So they have their own plan. The environment has got its own plan, and that is how the different type of species they exist in nature. So parasitism, again ecto and endo, and then what do? They live on the surface or inside, and they keep on extracting the fluid or the food from them, and thus make them weaker, and they can survive on this, like in this manner. Now you must have heard about brood parasitism. Brood parasitism is about the story between the cuckoo and the crow. You all know that the cuckoo lay its egg in the crow's nest, and the crow takes care of that, and the cuckoo just hover around and keep a watch on the crow. So crow, along with its own egg, is rearing the eggs of the cuckoo. So that is also kind of parasitism, because every work is done by the crow. It is bringing food for the chicks. It is doing everything which the mother bird has to do. So that is called as brood parasitism. So read about it and find out how it happens, why the crow is unable to identify the eggs of its own egg and the eggs of the cuckoo. How the evolution has played a very important role in maintaining this kind of a relationship. Then the third is the commensalism. Commensalism is, as you know, it is positive and neutral. So there is one organism which is benefited and it hardly matters for the other organism, but that persists because the first organism is getting a lot of benefit out of it. For example, there are epiphytes. Epi means upon and phyte means plant. So the organism or the plants which grow upon the other plant. So if this is let us say the branch of the tree, and on this branch of the tree there is a growth of epiphytes, orchids are very good example of epiphytes. So they grow on the tree trunks. So what this particular plant is getting, it is a very small plant, so it gets sunlight. It has got hygroscopic roots so that it can absorb water from the atmosphere. It simply takes the support of the plant. So this plant is not at all benefited. That's why this is neutral. The plant is not benefited by it. Neither it is harmed nor it is benefited. But this epiphyte is benefited because it is getting a space. It is because of that space it is getting the sunlight, and it is able to grow on its own. So it is advantageous for this particular plant, and we call them epiphytes. That is an example of common cellism. Then there are other examples also, like if the whale, when the shark or the whale, when they swim in ocean, there are small fishes which swim on the under them also, and they are very well protected because nobody would dare to come near the shark and the whale. So shark has got no advantage. She cannot even eat them. But the small fishes, they have an advantage that they are saved from their predators. So it's positive for the small fishes, but this is neutral for the shark. So that is common cellism. Again, I want one more example from the NCERT book. There are examples, so read the examples and add on in this particular category. Then comes the competition. Competition, it is negative. Why it is negative? Because competition will make both the species to fight for themselves. And according to Darwin, there is a struggle for existence and there is survival of the fittest. So whenever there is a struggle, that is called as competition. And we know that struggle will be more fierce if the organism they want the same resource. If they fight for the same resource, it is believed that the intraspecific competition is more fierce than the interspecific competition. Like a competition between two deer would be more fierce than the deer and the zebra. So, biology is a science of exception. So you will find many exceptions. Any statement, any theory, any principle you want to put forward, you will get an exception to that. So here you will find there have been research where it was found that the interspecific competition can also be more fierce. For example, there was a Galapagos Island. I hope you remember that when you studied Darwin finches. So he experimented on his research work was on the Galapagos Island. Finches, the birds which used to live there. So in that Galapagos Island, there were tortoises living. And the tortoise, they are herbivores, so they keep on eating the grass. And in the same on the same island, the goats were introduced later on. Now goats are very ferocious grazers, so they keep on eating the grass very quickly. So as a result of which, what happened, the tortoise were totally eliminated. So here it is an interspecific competition between two different species where one get eliminated. So it can be both ways. Interspecific and intraspecific can be fierce depending upon the species. Now there are 2-3 things which is more important in this particular topic, and children keep on asking me because in one go they do not understand, so keep making notes of this particular topic. One is the competitive release. Another is resource partitioning. And another is competitive exclusion principle. Competitive exclusion principle. So what it is? Competitive release is, suppose there is a particular occupied by a particular species and their number is restricted in that area. The number is restricted in that area because there are other species which are more superior and they keep on restricting their number here like this. So this is one species occupying this area only. This is a weaker one, we can say. So, and these are the strong ones. And this is a weaker one. So this is restricted here. Now if we remove in the next phase, if we remove all the strong one, then these species will try to spread themselves, and that is what we call the competitive release. So they release themselves and then they occupy more space and more area. That is competitive release. Competitive exclusion principle is, whenever there are two different types of species living together, then the stronger one always over a period of time always remove the weaker one. The stronger one always remove the weaker one. but it has it's not like that all the time. Like in the there's an ecologist, MacArthur, who said no, it is not always possible, because all the species want to survive, and in order to survive they have to find out a solution to it. If one is stronger and the other is weaker, or if they have got the same resource required, then they need to find out solution, and the solution is the resource partitioning. What is resource partitioning? Resource partitioning is where they divide the time to get the food. They also divide the place to get the food. Suppose there is a big grassland, and there are warblers, the birds, warblers which are living there. And so what do the warblers do? They occupy different levels on the tree. They have their nest on the tree, but they do not occupy the same level. So they reduce competition between them by occupying different levels in the tree. And they also divide the time of foraging, means to going and collecting the food. So they divide the time also, and they divide the field also. So that reduces the competition, and all of them are able to survive nicely for an unlimited or indefinite period of time. So that is competition. Then comes mutualism. Mutualism is where both of them are beneficial to each other. So lichen is one example, mycorrhiza is another example. Then I have also explained you an example of wasp bee laying its egg inside the fig inflorescence that we have discussed in the class. Then mutualism also exists between the plants and the pollinators. So the plants give them nectar and the pollinators helps in pollination. That is also mutualism. Then there are orchids. You must search these orchids. You know, orchids are the wonderful plants. They are epiphytes. They are wonderful plants, and you know their flower have achieved the maximum evolution, in a sense that you will find so many beautiful colors and so many forms in which they occur. And these orchids, their flower looks like the structure of the insects, maybe the face of the monkey, maybe like a bumblebee. So some of the male bees, they consider that this is a female bee. Okay children, so mutualism is where ultimately both the organisms are benefited, and we get so many examples from the environment where we find one organism is getting benefited by the other and vice versa. So they are living in coordination with each other. And the last one here, it is the ammensellism. Ammensellism is a condition where it is negative for one and it is neutral for the other one. Now how is it possible? Just imagine a petri dish where bacteria are growing, and in that culture the spores of penicillium or the fungi also fall there, and they start growing. Now penicillium is a fungus which produces penicillin, and penicillin may kill the bacteria. So the fungi is growing on its own without disturbing the bacteria, but the toxin which is produced by the fungi is killing the bacteria. So bacteria is on the negative end, whereas it neither benefits the fungi nor it harms the fungi. So this is an example of ammensellism where it is neutral for the one organism and it is negative for the other organism. So that also exists in nature, but you will find very few examples. So we have discussed all the types of the relationship which exist in nature, and how they are growing and how they are behaving with each other, and still the system is working, the environment is functioning. So with this we come to an end of the chapter also. Now try to do the NCERT questions given at the back. Every day I am giving you few questions, and try doing as much as possible. If there is doubt, you can always ask me, and complete the work in your homework register. All the words which are written in the chapter in bold form, you must learn their definition, and any query you can always ask me on my WhatsApp group. So tomorrow we are going to start the chapter number 14, ecosystem.